Good morning. It's about 11:30 over here. Beautiful sunshiny day. We may have a stray shower or two, um, possible in the forecast. Doesn't matter. It's all nature. It's all the elements provided. One person might think it can stop raining. We've had enough. Where another one might be praying or requesting for rain because they haven't had enough for whatever purposes they might need it for. Understand that what you think doesn't just affect you. It affects you and everyone around you, even though you may have never met that person before. You send out frequencies of vibration through your thoughts, your emotions, to physically demonstrating a form of energy. Nikola Tesla stated that if you want to know the secrets of the universe and of all things, think in terms of energy, vibration, and frequency. What we vibrate at, what we are feeling, what we are thinking. Now, for a long time, people may have been on subconscious programming. Subconscious programming is basically where a person receives information, sometimes a lot of information, at a given point, and the brain doesn't know what to do with all of that information during that time, so it categorizes and catalogs to the best of its finite capacity. And it takes what you would call a snapshot image of the material, and it sends it to a short-term memory bank. Now, you can access that short-term memory bank and pull up that information, but if it's never used or not consistently drawn upon, it ends up either going into long-term memory, where you can recall it for a later date and time, or it becomes extinct. The philosophy of use it or lose it. I didn't know what would come of this day, what kind of video content would be occurring, because I leave myself open to the possibility and potential rather than creating a class of notes. Some of it comes from knowledge. Some of it comes from experience. Some of it comes from higher intuition, intellect, and inspiration that makes sense at some point. Doesn't have to make sense at that point. You might have another variable that hasn't come to make that connection. That's okay. You are growing. You are meant to grow. You are not meant to have a dumpster full of information and experiences, emotions, tied to those experiences and thought patterns of processing all the time. We bring into our awareness when we take deliberate pursuit of being mindful. When we are not doing so, we operate on autopilot, or what the subconscious program that we have has already identified with. And we use that to compare a current circumstance, whether good or bad. Like I said before in a video, experience is not good or bad. It is not right or wrong. It is experience. What you label it and what you identify it with becomes that. How you think about it becomes that. I wanted to touch on the basis, and I don't know how long this video will be. Bear with me. I understand that you guys have busy lives. I understand that the world vies for your attention in multiple faceted ways. It's okay to pause it, come back to it. This is not, I need to digest all of this right now. You might come back to this video after watching it, the full spectrum in one setting, and get something new out of it on another time that you watch it, or any other video that has been posted or will be posted. That's okay, because we grow, and as we grow, we learn. Just as we learn, we grow. But what you learn has an impact. If you do not use the capacity to discern the information that you are being loaded with, you will find a lot of contradictions in life, because your experiences will pop up with a similar stimuli that presents itself in your life experience. And it will correlate to what you have already lived. And you have the potential to allow it to evolve for your growth, or stay at where you're at and keep recalling it. Like pulling up a picture out of your gallery. Only your gallery is a vast place. The mind is made up of multiple components. The physical component is the brain and how it processes information from input sensory information decoded into electrical signals for your brain to comprehend. Now, if you had no basis, it would be confounding to comprehend. But that is where a potential for growth can occur. Assuming that you know everything is an irrational thought. Because whether it's mathematics, whether it's proven science theory, whether it's through practice and experience, or any other type of culmination of that receipt, of information. It has the capacity to stay or to grow, to build upon. Some people learn information and stop, and they stay. And they profess, regurgitate that information for others to consume into their thought processes, but barely scratch the surface of truly knowing the intricacies of it. I could physically tell you I have a pen, and if you have the knowledge bank of what a pen is, doesn't matter the type of pen, the color of the pen, or the ink in the pen. Doesn't matter if I have ink in the pen or not. If I never show you it, you never know it. And I say that because I want to bridge on the power of the mind. The mind is a powerful thing that you possess. What you spend your time thinking about or processing, you divert energy to that thought. And that thought connects in a synchronistic way to your heart. And I'm not talking about your physical heart, I'm talking about your spirit heart, your emotional heart. And as you think, as you feel, and as you believe, remember, a belief is something that you practice. Belief is not religion. Belief is not faith-based structure. Belief is what you hold as your truth. The mind doesn't have a say of your belief. There's not a portion of that to tell you it's true or not. Don't confuse the mind for the subconscious and consciousness of the mind, because those are two separate aspects of the mind. The mind in this context is a Pandora's box, and you put in that box everything you experience, everything you are taught, everything you hear, see, smell, taste, touch. And you end up, if it's a new experience, you end up feeling a certain way. It could be fear, or it can be happiness, joy, content, comfort, peace, love. It has a vibrational signature. And if you want to operate at the frequency of those higher levels of vibration, you have to have the experience of knowing that frequency. You get called up on stage because you won an award. How do you feel? Do you feel excited? Anxious? What you attach to that event will resurface in future events. How you feel about it. If you feel anxious or panic because you are standing up in front of people to receive a reward for your hard work of doing something, you may attach it to a negative experience. And you may live that negative experience most of your life because of that emotion. But you only zeroed in on that particular feeling. But you were feeling more than just that. But at some point you blocked out the rest. The power of the mind helps you process information. The brain is the physical component. The mind is the non-physical component. How you learn is through information, repetition, rehearsal, writing it down, using cue cards or note cards to digest the information. Some people will use what's called a chunking method, where they take blocks of information at a time, absorb that information. When they feel like they can recall that information in great detail, they move on to the next box. Some will try to absorb a larger chunk of information and lose some of that information along the way because they're trying to absorb more information than they are currently at that level to absorb. If you have a test tomorrow and you probably haven't studied for that test, there's a high percentage, unless you are naturally gifted with the right answers all the time and you don't have to study, or you have an eidetic memory of information that is presented before you, that everything that you have ever read, or a photographic memory, everything you have ever saw of crystal recall, it will be difficult. There is a high percentage chance that you will not do so well because you did not take time to prepare yourself for that. You will have a belief, some of you will have a belief that school is bad because you don't want to be there. You want to be out somewhere else doing something else. You might feel like it's a prison. You might feel it's your sanctuary, a place where you can escape from home. You might think school is a necessary asset to you. You may think school is unnecessary. And I could give you a plethora of reasons why you might think that way. But instead of telling you why you might think that way, I give you the opportunity to examine your thoughts of why you might think that way. Information processing is your brain's capacity to take the electrical inputs and sensory information and record it. Your subconscious mind operates on auto program. So what you thought, what you felt, what you experienced becomes auto program until you take the conscious effort to see it differently, or think differently, feel differently, do physical actions that contradict it. You see, part of the subconscious mind has what's called the ego. And the ego, I like to call it the trickster. Because the only information it has is the experience you have already experienced. It doesn't have the information of future events. Some people that are gifted with spiritual gifts, and I say spiritual gifts because it's not easy to show in a physical way of perception. They might have clairvoyance, where they might see aspects of something before it comes. Maybe clairaudience, where they might hear something before it occurs. You could have a clairniscient, which is basically just knowing something either in the moment or before it has occurred. Don't confuse knowing with thinking. Thinking is the capacity of what could occur, the potential to occur. Knowing is having an innate confidence of something to occur because something has registered the message to you that it will occur. People might ask you, if you have these gifts, people might ask you a series of questions, or they might test you, and they think they can catch you off guard. Some of them. Others might legitimately ask you questions to see if you are legit. But in my experience of spiritual gifts, it's not like a light switch that you can turn on whenever you want, when you are not conscious of it, and when you don't take the conscious practice to refine it. Regardless what mediumship a person might use. Your brain is made up of two hemispheres, the left and the right. Your left is the part where it processes through logic, through critical thinking, reasoning, things that make sense on a provable physical occurrence. Whereas your left hemisphere, or whereas your right hemisphere, it connects you with higher aspects of yourself in your mental field, your consciousness. Higher consciousness does not mean that you know everything. Higher consciousness means that you are open to the opportunity and potential to know new things. It often starts as a philosophy. You speak it, you experience it, and then you restate it. Now, philosophy is tricky because it can go into either hemisphere based on what is connected and attached to it. Knowledge is for the mind. Experience is for the body. Confusing those things can make a very challenging life experience. But just because you experience something in the capacity that you have experienced it doesn't mean that it's absolute in one perception, or that it was unnecessary. Calamity can occur. Great devastation can occur. And you might zero in on the negative aspect of it. I'm not saying not to have compassion for persons subjected to that experience. I am saying that of that experience, don't think good can't come out of it. And when I say good, I'm saying a potential of growth couldn't come out of it. In the center of, and covered and protected of your brain, you have what's called a pineal gland, usually protected by crystals or crystalline structure, keeping it protected from other elements, basically being untainted. In this pineal gland, which is also referred to as the third eye in the chakra system, you close your eyes of duality, and I say duality because you have two eyes, and in the physical eye component, you have contrast. You have black and white. You have light and dark, hot, cold, love, hate. But when you shut down your eyes and go within to your inner eye, which is your inner mind's eye, you have one, to see a more clearer perception of circumstance. Sometimes we don't do that. We don't go within to understand something. We rely heavily on our duality of perception to make sense of something. And when it doesn't align with what we think we already understand, it opens it up to the potential or possibility for others to say it doesn't exist or it's not real, because they end up relying heavily on the sensory of physical sensory component. But if you ever want to experience spiritual experience, you got to go within. Everything you experience out there in life is a projection from you. How the circumstance unfolds is based on your thoughts, your emotions, what you hold and attach to. It all gets processed at lightning speeds. But the manifestation of that, or the calling into your existence an experience of it, comes in its own time. We deal with a lot of things living a human life experience. We deal with joy, we deal with sadness, we deal with celebration, we deal with loss in multiple components, not one given idea of loss. It's not the loss of person, place, or thing. It's the loss attachment to the physical component of that person, place, or thing. It doesn't mean they don't exist anymore, or that it doesn't exist anymore. It just means that the physical component that you became well experienced with in your life experience has run its course. That nature of things will probably require a different video if you feel like you want to go further into that, or if you are dealing with at this time a sense of loss, a sense of separation, a sense of why it might appear as bad things happen to good people. Let me know. Any conversation that we have, whether it's coaching or it's needing an ear, stays with me and you until you decide to share it with someone else. It will never be shared by me. My word, my trust, my integrity will always remain intact. So if you need a safe place, my door is open. We deal with a lot of processing. It's not just a learning environment that we process, like a structured school setting, or learning your job, hands-on learning. We absorb so much information, and we can get easily distracted, whether it's a cell phone, whether it's games, whether it's a noise, maybe it's a conversation being had between two people that chose not to utilize privacy. We absorb that information, even when we are not consciously aware that we are absorbing that information in all of its package. Your brain is filled up with neurons, And those neurons fire at electrical impulses to decode and make what you think your reality. It's said in the neurological community, or those that study the brain or mind, you'll find probably in science, and you'll probably find in the health field or medical field of school. You might also find it in the school of psychology. I'm pretty sure you'll find it in other areas of that connection. But I'm highlighting those because one goes into the physical component. The other one goes into the metaphysical component. And you are both. That's why you have two hemispheres. When your left and your right is balanced in a hemisync way, you become balanced. When your heart, your spiritual heart, and your mind, thought, align together, it creates a connection, a bridge, if you might allow for that analogy, to occur in a coherence way. It's called heart-brain coherence, where your brain takes the input of what you are feeling and processes it. So your thought to your brain, so your thought mind to your heart to your brain processing. Neurons can be both healthy and unhealthy. What you feed yourself becomes cellular structures in your body at a micro and a macro level at the same time. The cell of something you consume, or multiple cells of that thing that you consume, become part of your body. Physical, emotional, mental, energetic, and yes, your spiritual body. In the network of consciousness, where you are deliberate in your intention, where you are taking yourself off auto programming and quieting the trickster, the ego, of telling you what is and isn't, you open the doorway for your intention to form. People that are no longer auto-programming or operating on auto-programming have a sense of freedom where they cannot be compulsively controlled. Even when someone says, I need you to say something, I need you to speak, I need you to show something, express something, what they are saying isn't that they need you to do so, but an aspect of them their self they are asking to do through you. Not saying that you have control of that person, but through your capacity to fill that role and project the criteria for it to come out. We're constantly, from a young age in school, to if you go in the military service or you go to college, I'm a military veteran, served in the United States Army, or you go into the workforce. Everyone in those environments are asking you or telling you, commanding you to do something. And it's often with I want package. Be slow in your response. Think carefully how you respond. Don't take it as an attack. You're not in fight-flight response. You shouldn't be. It's not a criteria that is necessary for that mode. But process it carefully. Because what you do has ripple effects. When you start a path of learning that is presented before you, it starts as a philosophy, an idea. Philosophy, if you ever taken a class in philosophy or you're new to the idea of philosophy, that's all it is, an idea. Now, it can be structured with information components that gives it structure or solidarity. But in philosophy, there is no right or wrong answer. Never has been. Philosophy is the aspect of thinking without a biased opinion or a biased fed memory bank. You start as a mini philosopher with information. Then you become what's called an initiate, one who practices that philosophy. As you practice, and practice can be rehearsing, it can be restating, until it becomes a truth compound in your belief structure. When you have cultivated an alignment of resonance that is true to you beneath all the layers of programming and conditioning and information overload, no one will be able to tell you it's not true. Regardless how much physical stimuli they try to present. You see, an oral argument or debate is just that. The opportunity for opposing views on the same topic or subject. Doesn't make what the person believes to be their truth any greater or worse than the other. You are presenting the information that you have learned, have experienced through some method of experience, and you end up displaying that truth. How you carry yourself, how you deal with external stimuli. Understand that you dealing with the external stimuli that comes into your experience does not give you the authority or right to do harm to someone else or yourself. And harm is a negative thought of somebody. Harm is a negative emotion of somebody. Harm is a physical component of that somebody. You do not have the right or authority because your belief structure or what you hold to be your truth doesn't align with somebody else. Your words that you speak, that you think has no power, or you feel it's just a passing statement, has no context, no meat and potatoes, if you want to call it that, has power. Always has. It has an impact even if you don't see it revealed in the moment. And that person that you cause the non-physical harm towards carries that with them. That energy that you have put out now becomes an energy they carry with them. And they will have to deal with a way to clear that energetic layer that isn't theirs to begin with. So a philosopher is the starting point. Initiate is the practice and applying part that leads into mastership. A master over your mind. When you are a master over your mind, what you allow it to be fed, what you allow it to think, it can never be controlled. It can never be told what to think. how to think. Not to be confused with the comfort zone of stubbornness. Meaning, I refuse to change. I refuse to see from a different perspective. I refuse the possibility or potential for something else to be more in alignment with my inner truth. If you think something to be true, the experience will come into your life to reinforce that truth. Doesn't matter whether it's true for other people. Doesn't matter if you see visions or you get higher messages. Just because someone else is not in your body thinking, experiencing, imagining, feeling, or expressing doesn't make it not true. I'll tell you another secret about the intricacies of the mind. The mind, actually, let's say the brain. Because the brain does the processing, right? The mind is the imagined state, or or your thought process. The mind doesn't know the difference between an imagined event and a recollection of a experienced event. The power of your mind gives you the ability to shape what you want to experience. If I say I imagine myself in Ireland, seeing all of the beauty of it and historical places of significance, I'm not going to tell myself why I can't see that place. I'm going to imagine all the ways that I can experience that place. And in that imagined state, I'm going to imagine what it feels like. I'm going to imagine what I would be physically doing there. And I'd take in all of those components into my imagined state of that place and focus my energy on that. If I am focused on that imagined state in the present moment, not jumping back to what was, but in the present moment with that imagined state, I give the power and potential for that thing to occur into my life experience. Now, if I don't take great detail to imagine it, it may come with going there and experiencing experiences that were not aligned with, oh, this would be a great experience. Get detailed. The more detailed you go into the imagined place or imagined idea of yourself, the more energy you pour into that, the more frequency and vibration you send out, telling the universe, I am ready and open to receive that experience in my life. Imagine doesn't have a place for fear. Did you know you cannot fear and love at the same time? You literally have to change vibratory levels to feel that, express that, speak that, or do a physical component of that. One of the other or the other. Now fear is like way down here on the spectrum, whereas love is way up here on the energetic spectrum. Okay? If I am up here imagining all of the things that could go right to the best of my capacity, I'm going to follow it up with a vision board. Maybe. I am probably going to print off pictures to align with that imagined experience that has yet to come. I am probably going to detail what the weather will be like, what the people will be like that I connect with or interact with, how the grass will feel, how the water and the sun in that time frame complement one another. And then I will say, bring it better than I can imagine. And I leave it open to the universe to bring it. Hold on to that. Don't pick it back up and say it hasn't come yet. You've already started the process for that thing to occur through intentional mind setting. Okay? When you intentionally set what you want to experience, put it out there. And don't rob it before it comes. Don't put up a barrier of why it can't come or why it hasn't come yet. Don't dwell on it. Don't think about it. You already thought about it. Leave it in the thought process that you had it as. Because then you bring it into self-sabotage or never coming. You want to live a life of wealth. You want to live a life of abundance. You want to live a life of great health and wellness. You want meaningful connections, relations. Imagine it. Imagine the emotion and all of the aspects of it. Set it out there. Let it come to you. Don't rush it. Let it come to you. It will come in its right time. Trust. that it will come in its right time. And it will. That is the power that you have within you. That is the power of your thoughts, of your mind. And we could go into the different structures of identities and I wants and egos and superegos, etc., but it's not necessary. If you want to do that, go take a psychology class. You can probably find it in an introductory class. But we're branching on something more intimate, more customized and created to your uniqueness. Today it is Heart Chakra Day. I know, I spoke on the mind, but today is Heart Chakra Day. What does that mean? Besides green being associated with the heart chakra, sometimes pink as well. There's some that believe in an upper chakra, which is the pink color. But of the heart chakra, what are you loving today? Don't zero in on what you don't like. Don't zero in on what you disagree with. Zero in on what you love. Express that love with authenticity. The world needs more love. The world needs you to express your unique expression of love. Love a stranger. Love a family member. You don't have to say it all the time. They don't have to hear you to receive it. Use a journal. What do you love? Who you are and what you love, you attract to you. Love from a position of unconditioned, where love does not have to meet expectation. It doesn't have to be understood. A lot of times, this type of love will confound people. It will challenge their capacity to redefine what they think they know as love is. Love genuine, and genuine love comes back to you. What energy you send out will always come back to you. Maybe not in the same way that you send it out, but it will come back to you, sometimes in greater experiences, sometimes in a subtle, small experience. Don't measure the value of your love with a physical component of large or small, big and grand or tiny and miniature. Because love has no limits. It surpasses our limits of understanding. Always has. It always will. And you can come and study every single thing on earth And you can give to the poor. You can open your house to someone in need. You can speak pearls of wisdom for someone else's greater benefit. But if you don't do it with the capacity of love, it means nothing. Don't do it in an expectation of getting something back. You don't even have to think about getting something back because you're going to. But love in a capacity that doesn't expect or require something in return. And watch your life transform. And the lives that you touch. Through your thoughts, through your emotions, through your physical interactions. There is no limit to what your energy can reach. The only limited aspect that you will experience is what you allow yourself to be limited to. Be your authentic self. Think authentically. Don't think by someone else's thinking. It's not yours. It's theirs. And it's probably not even theirs. It's probably something that they adopted from somebody else. And it became a whirlwind, a forest fire, if you will, of a thought process. That ended up passing, not even just down through their family, through people they met, brief encounters that they probably will never see again, but you may encounter. There's a philosophy that says, guard your mind well and know thyself. Are you knowing you? Or are you knowing what you have been taught to know? Reshaping how you think transforms your life and the lives around you. Mahatma Gandhi, be the change that you wish to see in the world. And the world will align with that change in you. Trust it. Namaste. I love you. Be well. Show that love to everyone you come in contact with. Be patient and gentle when something you don't like occurs. Love with authenticity. And let your mind and your heart resonate. Be well. I send energy to you all. May you receive it for your portion.